Okay. All right, y'all. Okay. I know I was supposed to start at 10, but I got time blindness. I wasn't done with my Ocean Day routine. And I was just vibing with myself and I had to set the mood. So I had to burn some Palo Alto and get the mantra going. And we have 900 and 47 or 53 hertz going because I've been really in it's 963 hertz, right? And so, yes. So, welcome. I'm Jasmine. I am the creative, the magical, the intuitive, the Black woman essence force that is behind Flourish Homestead and Apothecary. We currently clearing the energy right now because it's been one crazy week, and that's why we up in here having a late night showdown, right? So, number one, thank you for your patience. Number two, thank you for the people who were coming over across the other social media platforms and working with us. Tonight, we're trying something different, right? So, we're setting the intention to clear my own personal energy with this Palo Santo, and we're smudging so that I can be a vessel and we can just intuitively talk. Now, I have a couple points that I wrote down, but it's not like my masterclass level. I actually think that I am going to do a masterclass level for both of these transits at two individual times. But right now, since the transit is at the top of the week and I haven't done anything in the apothecary pretty much since the new moon, I just really wanted to take this time. Don't you fall like that, baby. We don't need no fires. Okay. And just hop right into it. So, number one, we're trying a new format, still live, just not during a full moon or new moon. And this is more of an intuitive reading. So, as you know, in the new year, maybe y'all don't know because I don't talk about it much. We will be going live with kits, right? We'll be going live with things that people can work through starting in 2025, but real 2025, starting during Aries season. We'll be publishing workbooks, right? So I've been very intentional about not having too many master classes without having workbooks. But I think I would like to open up and be in community more and just do the workbooks, or not the workbooks, but just the master classes that I'm used to giving on other social media platforms. I want to do here and build community here. So yeah, my name is Jasmine. I'm the creative force behind Flourish Homestead and Apothecary. We are 100% owned, Black-owned, artisanal, spiritual, metaphysical shop that is rooted in African and tradition, indigenous. I can't even talk right now, y'all. Ways of life, right? Hyper focusing on things like sound healing. You know I can't do this without water. Without sound healing, without frequency healing, astrology, understanding the 12 universal laws, living a slow present life. I'll just get into all the things. I know I keep on saying that about what the apothecary represents, but one of the things we do is we work with the collective energy of astrology because we understand that the celestial bodies that are in our solar system deeply impact us here on earth. My body is telling me that she not done getting water. So one second. One day I'm going to make a reel of every time I've ever fucking drank water on the internet. Whew. Pray for me. But inadvertently, I just wanted to throw that out there. So this is really casual. This is not like any of my other previous talks. That's why I said it was just an intuitive read, because I really haven't verified the natural knowledge that I know with other things that are going on. So everything is completely from the natural knowledge that I know and my perspective. So we're just going to jump right into earlier this week. When was it, y'all? Earlier this week, it was Wednesday. So Wednesday was October the 9th at 12:05 a.m. Jupiter went direct in Gemini. And so let's just talk about that for a moment. So Jupiter, and I did, like I said, I took like 2 pages worth of notes, y'all. So work with me. Jupiter went direct, like I said, on October 9th, 2024 at 12:05 a.m. Jupiter has been in Gemini since what, May? Yeah, May 25th of this year. And it will be here until a very important day for me, which is June 9th of 2025. Right? And so just wanted to throw all those things out there. We can just kind of understand and talk about what is Jupiter, what happens when Jupiter is in Gemini. All that water now, it's like making me so gassy, but I also have sage oil and cinnamon bark oil in the water. So I hope it doesn't cause me to burp. Okay. Whoever see this video, they're gonna be like, baby, come closer. You all over the place. And I'm going to tell you yes. The answer the answer is yes. So I hope that you like all over the place videos, okay? So we're just going to jump right into what I know about Gemini, or not Gemini, but what I know about Jupiter. Okay? So, if you've ever got an astrological reading from me, which by the way, books are closed until further notice, because I'm a very detail oriented astrologer. I like to take a lot of time, and it usually takes a person who wants to work with me like a year to cycle through my whole entire program. So yeah. But anyways, Jupiter is a masculine planet, right? So it is yang oriented, and it is better known as the planet of abundance, luck, and flow. Okay, so Jupiter rules over in our portion of the solar system, our area of the universe. What the celestial body Jupiter represents is expansion, it's flow, it's abundance, right? It is the flow energy that naturally exists in your electromagnetic field because all of us have a natal Jupiter, and we also have a progressed Jupiter. We'll get into what progressed charts is. Don't worry, somewhere along the line. But it governs higher knowledge, abstract thinking, philosophy, religion, morals, ethics, values, optimism. It also rules over our own personal outlooks and philosophies over life and just our why. And also, most importantly, it rules the things that just come easily to us through our electromagnetic field. Like I'm in a onesie right now because it's 59 degrees and my bloodline is real equatorial. So please don't judge me for being in a onesie in October in 59-degree weather. I'm meant to be on the island. I'm meant to be in continental Africa. I'm meant to be below the equatorial line. I'm meant to be hot all the time. So I just wanted to say that. As we were talking about all these things, because I'm just processing how people will view it, right? And so, like I said, Jupiter just helps you to understand your own personal ideology. It helps you to understand your personal why in life, especially when you study your natal Jupiter and when you study your progressed chart. And if you're wondering what I'm looking at, if you've ever gotten a reading from me, you always got a sheet that had the basics for what everything is. So what I'm currently reading is my description of what Jupiter is, right? And so Jupiter is naturally a benevolent planet. So what benevolent or auspicious means is a planet that wants to work with your energy rather than something like Pluto or Saturn, which will work sometimes against your electromagnetic field or where you currently are in life to get you to where you need to be. Jupiter is a little different, right? Jupiter historically rules the ninth house. It is the ancient ruler of Pisces. It's the modern ruler of Sagittarius. It rules over the ninth house, right? We know that it rules religion, like I just said, philosophy, your outlook on life, morals, ethics. With Neptune and the Neptune energy and it being the ancient ruler of Pisces, it kind of rules over certain aspects of spirituality. But I will say more so the wisdom aspect of spirituality. And so, with it being naturally benevolent or working with your energy, working with your natal Jupiter can really help you understand how to work with your own energy, how to be in your own flow, how to magnetize yourself to get the life experiences that are aligned with who you are, your outlook on life, your philosophy on life, your morals, your ethics, right? And so those are some of the things that Jupiter rules over. But here's the thing about Jupiter. Jupiter ain't got no boundaries. Jupiter is sometimes what people consider to be the last of the personal planets and the first of the outer planets. So Jupiter, in some ways, is not concerned about how the collective, how the individual feels, because it's all about moving us into the right timeline, just like Neptune, just like Pisces, right? It's ruling wisdom and it's ruling over a collective wisdom, a collective philosophy. So, in many, many ways, Jupiter, like Uranus, Jupiter, like Neptune, Jupiter, like Pluto, the outer planets, and Saturn, it really doesn't care about what you need on like an individual basis. Um, it cares about making sure that you are magnetized toward the certain experiences that you have in your life. So even though it's benevolent, it doesn't really value individual boundaries per se, unless you learn how to work A, with the energy of Jupiter, B, with the energy of Jupiter in your natal chart, because that's your initial electromagnetic field, and then C, how to work with Jupiter. I hope y'all can hear the squeaky ass chirp that I ain't put no WD-49 on yet. And also how you can work with Jupiter in wherever it is in your progress chart. Okay. And so you have to be careful with things like Jupiter, especially when it's in placements like Gemini, because it's in something that we call detriment. So we know that the zodiac wheel, it's a wheel, and a wheel represents 360 degrees, right? Keep in mind, everything I'm saying has a point. Even if it doesn't make any sense, just follow me and listen to everything that I'm saying with an open heart and an open mind, okay? Or pause as much as you need to be able to process the information. And so, with this being said, even though it's a benevolent planet, it doesn't really care about what your personal boundaries, what your insecurities, or what your fears are. It cares about wisdom. It cares about new knowledge. It cares about how to get you in alignment with your electromagnetic field, which is your true purpose, not your programming, not what other people or the society need you to be, but who, when you incarnated into this meat package, who you were supposed to be. That's what Jupiter represents. So even though it's a benevolent planet, Jupiter doesn't play games with us. And it's actually my favorite planet because of that reason. Okay. And so, with that being said, Jupiter takes 12 years to complete the zodiac. So the last time that Jupiter was in detriment, which we're going to talk about more when we talk about what it means for Jupiter to be in Gemini, because that's what it means to be in detriment. And that's what I said in the 360 zodiac wheel. The reason why Jupiter, the planet, is in detriment, and detriment in astrology means it just can't express itself fully. It can't be who it fully is in Gemini, because Gemini represents the polar opposite of what Sagittarius is. Even though I fundamentally disagree with that analysis, it is in detriment because Gemini is the sister sign of Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is ruled in our solar system by Jupiter, right? And so when you know all of this, you know that since we've been here since May 25th, right, of this year, Jupiter has not been able to fully express himself in Gemini, right? And so, like I said, we'll get further into that, but that means that Jupiter feels that who it is naturally, its traits naturally, is just in a natural resistance to Gemini's energy, since they sit 180 degrees across from each other on the zodiac wheel. So the last time that Jupiter was in Gemini, I think it was 2013 to 2015. So think back on a lot of the themes that were prevalent in your life during that time period, or prevalent in the collective, because that'll be what's taking place right now. Okay. And in addition to that, Jupiter also rules over the ninth house. And keep in mind, this is just an intuitive talk. We're just in community, we're just casually learning. There will be a masterclass where we will get all of this information, right? You'll get my intuitive information, the connection that I have to the ether, to the other side in reference to these things. But right now, you're just hearing me spitballing, right? And you're hearing me spitballing just so we can better understand what Jupiter is, right? Okay, and just spitballing overall. But anyways, Jupiter also rules over the ninth house, which is the house of philosophy and spirituality. And so this house governs our higher knowledge. This house governs our wisdom, our growth, our abundance, our spirituality, and our religion. It also governs travel, which I love, and foreign places, which I love, because I've always felt like an alien in my hometown, very Midwestern, and very groupthink, very people think a lot alike. And so from a very early age is actually why I was attracted to Jupiter, because it was all about all the things I was attracted to in life: knowledge, wisdom, higher power, religion, spirituality, foreign places, understanding how different people from different ways of life work, ethics, morality, and different things like that. But it also governs, like at the ninth house, and thus Jupiter and thus Sagittarius governs abstract thinking. It governs morals, it governs ethics, theories, concepts, and even to a certain extent, with the South Node in Libra, law and order, or matters of the law, which are governed by Libra, which is in the South Node right now. And the Sun is also in Libra anyway, then it's debilitated, but we'll get into that. Okay. So I just thought I'd say that right now. And one of the things you need to know about the ninth house, which is ruled by Jupiter, is that it's considered the gateway to heaven. So we know that the houses 10 through 12 are considered heaven. And heaven is whatever the operational definition that you need it to be. We're not going to define it here and right now. But from a Jupiterian perspective, right? The reason why Jupiter is considered, thus the ninth house, is considered the doorways to heaven, is because of the metaphysical and abstract things that it represents, that kind of governs our lives. So it's the place where the metaphysical right? Our morals, our ethics, our philosophy, they're all abstract. They all exist, but they exist within us at an individual and a collective level. But it builds up the physical, right? The physical parts of who we are. And so when you know that, that's why the ninth house is nicknamed the gateway to heaven, because the 10th house, the 11th house, and the 12th house are considered different levels of heaven. Okay. And so it's really a conversation about energetics and the metaphysical. Woo. I can talk, but I can't talk. Hold on, let me get something else to drink, and then I will be right back. Okay. And so with the governing over that, it's often called the gateway or the stairway to heaven. And it also governs spirituality, but more so the place where the metaphysical and the physical meet. And that's why it's called a gate. And everything above the ninth house is considered metaphysical energy. Okay. And the other reason why is because, from a very scientific and astrological way, the midhaven, which is the highest point in our chart, is ruled by Capricorn, which is the ruler of the 10th house, in addition to Saturn. And is the house that comes after Sagittarius or Jupiter in the ninth house. And so I just wanted to overemphasize that, because it is truly where the metaphysical and the physical meet. And that's why it is called the gateway to heaven. And what this really teaches us is, it teaches us to be curious. And I love that, because that's what Jupiter and Gemini is all about. And that's what this personal Jupiter in Gemini retrograde will be about for the rest of the collective, right? Because it teaches us to never stop searching for the truth. And it also teaches us that the truth will change as you grow and as you expand, and that the lesson is in the journey. It's never in the destination. The lesson is in the things that you pick up and the things that you learn and the wisdom that you accrue along the way. It's all about lived experience. Okay. Alrighty. And so now that we talked about that, let's talk about what Jupiter in Gemini represents. So we talked about the Jupiter in Gemini is in detriment, because it's 180 degrees. It's the polar opposite of all the things that Sagittarius is supposed to represent. But I want to change the way we talk about polar opposites, because as I get deeper into astrology, I've been into astrology now for 24 years, right? And I'm at this place where boundaries and things that we know to be traditional forms of knowledge, they mean something to me, but they don't really mean anything. And the reason I have picked up why Jupiter is in detriment in Sagittarius is because of the fact that oftentimes wisdom, which is ruled by Sagittarius, and facts and logic and data collection and the communication of the facts, the knowledge, and that data collection is ruled by Gemini. So innately Gemini, and I'm a Gemini sun, is very black and white. You can see all sides of an argument. And it's really there to highlight the facts of the situation. But we know that life is deeper. It's deeper than just the facts of a situation, right? We know that wisdom is deeper than just black and white thinking. We know that life is messy, and life is often about the connectors, right? And when Jupiter is in Gemini, sometimes Jupiter gets caught up in black and white thinking and not the gray area thinking that it's used to when it can fully express itself in its home sign of Sagittarius, or when it can fully express itself like in exaltation in its ancient rulership of Pisces. Okay, and so the biggest lesson, because Gemini is mutable energy, and so is Sagittarius. The biggest lesson during this time period is for you to be mutable, but also for you to be social and for you to be curious and to understand that fact and data gathering is what leads to wisdom, and that wisdom is like nothing but new knowledge. Sorry, y'all, I want to cough like so bad. And I want to drink the rest of this water so bad. Hold on one second. Okay. And so, one of the things that when Jupiter is in Gemini, when it's in detriment, that we really want to remember is that, like, it's really the need to understand that our expansion, our flow, and our abundance comes in being curious, and also being in communication or perfecting and working on what communication looks like, right? And so it's like telling you where you need to grow. It how having the right sort of communication for your life, which is only noted through your natal sign, your progress chart, your degrees, and the decades. What it's really trying to tell you right now, okay? And so, really, during this time period, all you need to understand is that when Jupiter, the planet of, to some extent, spirituality, to some extent, knowledge, well, not to some extent, to all the extent of knowledge, morals, ethics, philosophies, your outlook on life, abundance, being in flow with the universe, whenever we hit that 12-year period where Jupiter enters detriment in Gemini, it is forcing us to understand how communication and the mastery of communication helps us to achieve the things that we want to achieve. Right? So, what do that mean? Okay, so, what this means during this time period is the best thing that you can do is this. When Jupiter is in Gemini, it's best to collect knowledge with neutral intent. Even though we classify Gemini energy as masculine, what we have to understand is that Gemini energy and Aquarius energy actually represents the binary, right? So if we were to equate this to gender, right, and the law of gender, which flip flops between masculine and feminine, the zodiac will hold space for the in between. And the in between often functions from a place of neutrality, and neutrality innately cannot be masculine or feminine because those represents polar opposites. And so when Jupiter, the planet of flow and abundance, and to some extent spirituality, morals, ethics, and religion enters Gemini, which governs communication, which governs facts, which governs neighborhoods and like more so local level intimate relationships. It's all about being neutral and gathering facts, gathering data, but not assigning a judgment to that. It's the ability to collect knowledge, logic, quick thinking, and really using that to create wisdom or new knowledge, right? And so, a lot of times when we are talking about why Jupiter can't fully express itself, the only reason it can't express itself in Gemini is because it hasn't taken all the individual facts and pieces that makes up a collective story and turned that into uh, a purview or having the ability to create a whole picture, right? Gemini is hyper focused on the facts that make up the whole picture in Sagittarius and everything that comes after Sagittarius. It kind of rules over the collective picture, right? Where everybody must go. But when Jupiter enters Gemini, it asks us to balance that. You can't have facts, right? You can't have data collection. You can't have neutrality without it forming new knowledge, new wisdom, new outlooks on life, new philosophy, and refining our values and our morals and our ethics, right? Gemini also rules transportation in addition to communication, systems building to a certain extent from a mercurial perspective, in addition to Virgo energy, also ruling over to a certain perspective, system building and system processing. And it just also rules over speaking and teaching. And so during this time period, when Jupiter is in Gemini, it's really the time for you to open your mouth, open the mouth, and speak about your lived experiences. Because in your lived experiences is knowledge that nobody else knows about, because nobody else has your story, nobody else has walked on your path, right? And so when you know that, you really begin to understand what Jupiter in Gemini is all about. But since Jupiter cannot express itself and thus express the highest functions of itself, heart chakra and above. So heart chakra, throat chakra, third eye, crown, right? And then we have an archetypical chakra that's about right here above our heads that kind of channels the energy from the ether and brings it down into our electromagnetic field. Um, and so when we know all of that, you have to also understand that since Jupiter cannot express its higher forms of self when it's in Gemini, it also rules over shit like gossip, disinformation, and misinformation, which is real as we're transitioning out. That was intense. Out of the age of a Pisces to the age of Aquarius, right? And so during this time, the reason why Jupiter has to enter Gemini every 12 years, right, is because we need to fact check. We need to make sure that the micro things that make up the macro things are verified, are critically thought about, and so many other things. And that lends to the fact that the only way to do that is for us to be in communication. It's for us to be talking about facts. It's for us to be talking about our lived experiences, right? And then to kind of just like turning that into wisdom. And so that is one of the things that we have to understand. Another thing we need to understand when Jupiter is in Gemini, it's impulse control. Impulse, impulse control. And what do I mean by that? Well, Jupiter nor Gemini is very good about acknowledging emotions or acknowledging the somatic connection that is a mind body connect, right? Sorry, y'all. Dry lips. Being a girly girl is hard. I'm not going to show for capitalistic purposes who this brand is, but capitalism be kicking my beauty obsessed ass because why would I buy this color? Who's this color really working on? That's why I wear it to go to bed. But what we really need to understand with impulse control is that sometimes Sagittarius and Gemini has this like natural way of just saying what the you really think, you really feel, and like sometimes not being able to read the room. Is it the time for that? Probably not. And so what you need to understand is that the key word for the transit, anytime Jupiter is in Gemini, it really highlights perspective, right? What is the difference between your reality, other people's reality? And since Jupiter is the gateway to heaven, ruling over what the truth really is, right? And so Jupiter in Gemini gives you the ability to see all sides of an argument, right? It's the light twin and the dark twin. And so when you understand this, you understand that your time in Jupiter and Gemini is not really to make decisions, it's to observe, it's to data collect, and it's to see how that natural observation, data collection, and seeing other people's perspective, which is really rooted in other spiritual means, other Neptunian things, Piscean things like empathy, is helping us build up to that. And it allows us to take in consideration for how facts and how knowledge and how logic build into that perspective, but understanding that perspective is also around consideration. Jupiter energy, Sagittarius energy, right? Because in order to govern over foreign land, you have to honor and respect people, things, and ways of life that are different from who you are, from your way of knowing, from your perspective. And so it allows us to get more perspective on what is consideration, what is logic in comparison to morals and ethics, um, and philosophies, and things that are just humane, things that really center us in the fact that as living beings, we have a certain amount of rights. And so that is really here to remind us that perspective really grounds us in faith, conviction, confidence, and joy. And what this is really saying when Jupiter is in Gemini, it's just like, how do you use the facts, the data collection, and communication to achieve your goals? And while you are achieving your goals, still having conviction and it's still being rooted in the truth, and it's still giving you confidence and joy or abundance or wealth, which is what Jupiter represents. Right. So Jupiter went into retrograde on October the 9th. And I think when did it go? October 9th was Wednesday, 12:05. So 12:05 a.m. is when it went there, and it was at the 11 degrees Gemini. So 11 degrees is actually a degree that is ruled by Aquarius, a fellow air sign, but a fixed air sign, and the Wata bearer. And so, what does all this mean? What this means is that, first of all, we need to talk about what retrogrades are. Retrogrades are illusions. Retrogrades don't really exist in our solar system. What do I mean by that? And when I say that, am I discounting hundreds of years, thousands of years worth of knowledge from our ancestors, right? The people who created astrology? And the answer is no. We know for a fact, as we've accumulated more technical skills, right? In science, a technical skill, that all of the planets move in an eclectic way around the sun, which has a strong gravitational pull, which causes all of the planets to move around it in the same way. And so, to be scientifically accurate, the moon or the sun is moving this way, and all the planets are moving around it as it's moving through the void of outer space. And so, with this being said, planets cannot go retrograde. It's only from our perspective here on Earth that planets go retrograde. And what this really means for us when we understand this from a scientific and then a spiritual and energetic and metaphysical perspective is this really a time of deep introspection, deep awareness of self, and deep awareness about how this collective transit impacts you. Okay. And so when a Jupiter went retrograde in Gemini at 11 degrees, which is a degree that's ruled by Aquarius, what it really meant is it's just the breaking of the mold, a breaking of how things were to get us to how things need to be. Okay. And it also, at this degree, rules over at a natal perspective. So people who may have their Jupiter at 11 degrees, it rules over being a visionary or a dreamer. Okay. And so, what we need to understand about this is we need to ask ourselves, well, you know, from our perspective, why is the universe asking us to introspect at particularly 11 degrees of Gemini for Jupiter, which rules over expansion, which rules over flow, which rules over morals, ethics, philosophy, religion, knowledge, abstract thinking, right? Why is it asking us to be visionaries or dreamers? Why is it asking us to break the mold? And that's a very good question. And I've kind of already answered that in so many ways. And it's really the acknowledgement that being fully present, being fully rooted in reality, not always being a symbolic thinker, but being a systematic thinker, that A leads to B and B leads to C, right? Is what makes Jupiter being in Gemini so powerful, even if it's in detriment and Jupiter feels like it can't fully express itself, because it's reminding us that you are consistently on a journey, you're consistently learning, you need to consistently be curious, and you need to consistently be gathering data points for your own personal knowledge and for collective knowledge that will transform the world. And how do things like facts and learning influence our morality, influence our ethics, influence our philosophies and our whys in life, our outlooks on life? What ends up creating our walls, our structures, our hierarchy, and even what we feel like is societally acceptable. With Pluto transitioning out of Capricorn and into Aquarius again, I think this is a very timely conversation. And Jupiter is helping us supplement that conversation by being in detriment in Gemini and by helping us understand how the small things impact the big things, right? All right. And so, yeah, I don't know if any of what I'm saying is making sense, but I really hope that it is. Anyways, how do you work since Jupiter will be in Gemini until January, or not January, June 2025, and it'll be in retrograde until February 2025. Yeah, I think it's February 15th. How do we work with this energy? How do we get to know this energy better? Be a visionary, be a dreamer, learn, be open, be curious. Okay. One of the things that can really open you up right now to this energy is abundance herbs. So, abundance herbs are mint, are basil, and cinnamon. They're also very Jupiterian, they're also very Sagittarian. I hope that a lot of people learn how to work with their own energy and their own electromagnetic field during this time period, because it's not as emotionally charged with Jupiter being in Gemini, right? But you'll still have all this mental dexterity and mental energy, especially since Wednesday that Jupiter has been at the 11th degree, right? And so I just wanted to over highlight that. How you work with Jupiter being in retrograde in Gemini is to practice this mantra. And the mantra is, I am curious, I am learning, and I am gaining new knowledge. Also, just from a business perspective, Jupiter being in Gemini is a very good time in some ways for businesses, right? Because it governs over like communication, it governs over being in community, it governs over so many things that we need to be in mastery of. It also governs transportation, communication systems, speaking, teaching, and higher learning. So another way that you can engage in this is that we're all masters in something, whether you believe it or not. While Jupiter is in Gemini, and especially during this retrograde, don't be afraid to share what you know. That can be in interpersonal relationships and intimate relationships, or like me right now, being online, not knowing who will get a hold of this video. But in some ways, it's just all about sharing what you know and not being afraid to share what you know, especially with the North Node being in Aries. Be confident in what you know too. Okay? Okay, so even more herbs to really get to know the Jupiter and Gemini energy. If there was one planet herb that I would like really, really, really overemphasize represents is ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is a nervine and an adaptogen. So a nervine and an adaptogen in so many ways is something that helps you build resilience in your nervous system to be able to combat stress. And with that being said, ashwagandha helps with the debilitating feelings that comes with Jupiter being in Gemini. So in its natural detriment, it also been in retrograde. So it's also like a double entendre. And so it allows you to keep your nerves calm. It allows you to stay in mental energy so you can stay fully present and be able to process the information without assigning judgment or an emotional connection to the knowledge that is being said. So that's a really, really good time for us to do right now. It's a really good time, in addition to ashwagandha, from a spiritual perspective, to practice skepticism. Don't blindly believe what people say. With Gemini being what it is and Jupiter being what it is, please understand that misinformation and disinformation is very prevalent right now, especially as we're transitioning out of the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, okay? And things that will help you overcome that, as far as from a herbal perspective, is also like very Jupiter in things that attract abundance into your life, or herbs that attract abundance into your life. So that's more so like basil, mint, bay leaf, cinnamon. So really, really, really work with those if you can incorporate those on your altar, in your cooking, in your root work, in your candle work as much as possible. Okay. Really, in order to understand also Jupiter and Aquarius energy, I would really work with amethyst, lapis lazuli, yellow topaz, any agates, right? And also citrine during this time period. Some of the colors that you can work with if you do color magic is white, orange, sometimes brown. Be careful on brown because it's a lot more earth energy than the mutable air energy of Gemini and the mutable fire energy of Sagittarius, which Jupiter rules. So be careful with working with brown, but it can work for certain prayers, intentions, and manifestations. And invocations, because invocations are actually the most powerful outside of prayers. Okay. You can also work with Gemini colors of yellow, green, and white during this time period. Okay. Um, yeah. So let's move on to Pluto, and then going direct in Capricorn at 29 degrees for the last time. Excuse me, y'all. For 247 years. Okay. So how we're gonna do this is I'm gonna read off the from my basic sheet. Sorry y'all about that. About what not Jupiter, about what Pluto is, and then the house that it governs. The reason why I made that face is like my body is just crazy right now. Okay, so Pluto is a feminine planet. Its original ruler of Pluto is Scorpio, right? And with that being said, it's considered the dark mother. And so Pluto is absolutely a generational planet. I know a lot of people on Earth believe it's a celestial body, but not a planet in our solar system. I'm not really here for that conversation. And it's also a slow moving planet. It is like so far away from the Earth that it really doesn't reflect any of the light, or not the Earth, but the sun, that it really doesn't reflect any of the light from the sun. And because of that, Pluto represents power, death, regeneration, rebirth, and transformation. But it also rules over like waste, diseases, crime, the underworld, control, and destruction. In your natal chart, it really tells you where you should look inward and seek your own truth, even if they're painful, hard to place, or parts of you that you might not even like. Pluto challenges you to take a deeper look and to seek absolute truth where you can find where you in the places that you cannot like run from yourself. Okay. It also represents change, upheaval, power, and control issues that you may have to face in your lifetime. And I know a lot of this like kind of sounds scary, but the reason is that because this planet rules over regeneration, right, transformation, and rebirth. And the only way to do that is like fix the darkest parts of yourself, which Pluto, in addition to like Chiron and Lilith, in what we would consider to be tropical forms of astrology, kind of rule over. Okay. And so Pluto spends like 12 to 31 years in each planet. Pluto has been in Capricorn pretty much consistently from 2008 to 2024, except for like a little small moment in 2023, which I loved, and a little small moment in 2024 until June 20th, when it left. Okay. And typically it spends about 247, 248 years completing the zodiac. Okay. And like I said, Pluto rules over the 12th house. So, what does the 12th house govern, and what does the 12th house rule? And a lot of people call the 12th house the house of reckoning. Okay. And what this means is that it just rules over our unconscious, and it rules over our unknown parts of ourselves, our shadows, but also our like imagination and our sorrow. And the 12th house like really helps us to understand the conscious processes that impact like our growth, our success, our achievement, or even our failures in this lifetime. The 12th house also governs like jails, insane asylums, institutions, and other forms of being stuck or constrained in one place because you don't have enough balance, right? And it also can rule over very dreamy elements of who we are, like our fantasies, our dreams, and our hidden desires. But it reminds us that all dreams are not fun. Like sometimes a fear is a dream. Like you could have a fear of something, and it might not be from something that you've experienced like in this lifetime. It could be from something that's in the metaphysical, right, which roots from our dreams or our fantasies, right? And so the 12th house is really all about balance between divine connection, inspiration, and being able to be truthful and rooted in reality. And traditionally it's ruled by Pisces and Neptune, right? And we kind of talked a lot about those things when we were talking about Pisces, or not Pisces energy, but when we were talking about Jupiter energy, right? So yeah, when you have Pluto in Capricorn, and we've been here since 2008, and I think I talked about this a little on the full moon reading that we had on the channel. It's about getting rid of traditions, about getting rid of boundaries and structures that no longer serve us. It also talks about, where we have corruption, and where that corruption exists at a societal or a systematic level. It also talks about, to a certain extent, oppression at a systematic level. Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm turning the last bit. Like I said, I only have 2 pages, so we're getting to the 2 page. And so when Pluto is in Capricorn, what we're really talking about is the difference between true power and false power. What does that mean? So in addition to the things that we just talked about, Capricorn rules over, to a certain extent, like business, elitism, government, financial systems, businesses, rulerships, hierarchy, and industries. And what we are talking about when we talk about Pluto being in Capricorn and being there since 2008 is our overdependence. Our overdependence on systems. We don't know how to grow our own food. We don't know how to get our own water. We don't even know when a tornado or when extreme weather events are happening a lot of times without like the federal, state, or the local government telling us. And it's really like an acknowledgement when Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008 over like how for the past 2,000 years we've been disconnected from nature. We've been disconnected from sovereignty. We've been disconnected from our choice, and we've really given away our choice to institutions, to industries, to business, to governments. In addition, in the exchange for feeling safe. But what we really got wasn't really over the past 20 years since 2008, like us feeling safe. Like the recession didn't make us feel safe. 2020 didn't make us feel safe. 2016 didn't make us feel safe. 2018 didn't make us feel safe. 2022 didn't make us feel safe. 2024 doesn't make us feel safe. So when we talk about true power versus false power, we're talking about how we as individuals have given away our individual sovereignty to institutions, to organizations over the past 2,000 years, and how it has really caused us to be disconnected from the natural phenomenon. And it's really moved us into being symbolic thinkers instead of systematic thinkers. And in the society, we need a bit of both. We need to understand the symbology of the past, and we need to understand the facts of right now to kind of help us make really, really good decisions, right? And what true power is you facing yourself, is you taking full accountability for who you are and how you take up space and what you need. And we're really at a reckoning point where we're just figuring out like the ways in which we've given away our own power, right, to the 1%, to government, to industries, to institutions, to capitalism, to stereotypes, to oppression, right? And we really have led with those identities. And so I feel like what we really need to understand in this time period is that Plutonian energy is feminine or yin, and so is Capricorn. And when they come together, which is only so often every 247 to 48 years, is really in reference to transformation into our own sovereign power at an individual level and how that impacts the collective, right? But it also is telling us, like, from an organizational, institutional, structural perspective, what things doesn't work for us. And Pluto rules over power, and Capricorn rules over structure. And so, a lot of times, what we've seen in the past 20 years is structures that are rooted in inhumane corruption crumbling, and it'll be that way until November 19th, and then we'll have about a 3-week post shadow that we'll need to work through that energy with, right? And so it's also reminding us as a collective and at an individual level, if you're willing to work with Pluto's energy, especially being in Capricorn at the 29th degree, allowing us to think of things that we need to let go, things that no longer serve us, things that no longer serve us on an individual or a societal level, and how connected it is, the bullshit that you're willing to accept on an individual level, how it impacts the collective, and what it means to express sovereignty through more self-sufficiency, right? So that's why we've seen a lot of times people learning how to do hard things over the past 20 years. We're seeing a lot of people who are interested in herbalism, who are interested in foraging, who are interested in off-grid living, who are interested in being devoid of corruption and being truly in charge of their whole entire lives. And it's very prominent during this time period, especially when we understand how government entities and industry or business has impacted our everyday lives. Okay. And like I said, this is really the great mother energy that comes every so often with Capricorn and Pluto being in a yin or feminine energy, which is just the rebalancing of the world when the world becomes too much of one way, too masculine, too feminine, too logical, too emotional, and different things like that. And we have to understand that power is all about being in balance. And Capricorn represents the highest point of our chart, which represents when we are in control of ourselves, when we are in control of our lives, and when we can take up all of our space and do what it is that we've set out to do in this lifetime, because we're taking up all of our own space. And we're not letting people or things or institutions tell us who we are or define who we are. And so from 2008, especially for the people like me who came of age during this time period, became adults in this time period, and really have felt like everything that they've been working for and the things that have been happening are really harder than what they need to be. And it's really that reckoning and the things that I was talking about in the full moon live that I've had. I think it was in late September. I think it was. Where we just talk about the work that we've had to put into divesting from not truly being sovereign, not having a choice, and how sometimes being on that journey, because like Sagittarius, Capricorn, and the the goat energy that's represented in Capricorn is represented by experiencing a journey and learning things every step of the way. And with Pluto being in Capricorn, how that is learning every step of the way, every failure, every success, everything is really helping you build knowledge. It's helping you build wisdom, but it's also building you power and sovereignty, right? Which is what Pluto rules over. Is how to be in control of your own energy. It's the things and places that you, in addition to Saturn and Lilith and Chiron, that only you can get you out of by facing yourself, by facing your shadows, facing your own pain. And for a lot of years, I really have felt like that was us. And I don't want to go off into a tangent about like a lot of this energy was teaching us how to be experts in the individual things that we were supposed to be experts in. And like I said, please refer to that full moon video where I talked more about this energy. Because I don't really feel like I'm doing it justice right now. But even more importantly, I guess what I'm picking up on is Pluto and Capricorn, and especially now that's direct at the 29th degree, which is a very important degree. It's a critical degree, and it's a degree that is not like ruled by any constellation or zodiac sign. It's really about truth. It's really about living in your own power. It's about completing a cycle. But the 29th degree is also about like having a lot of anxiety, having a lot of turmoil, and learning a lot of lessons. Because you're about to begin a new cycle. And with Pluto being in Capricorn at the 29th degree and going direct today, what time did it go direct today? Hold on, I got it right here. It went direct today at 5:34 p.m. What it's really asking us to do with all this other collective energy is like figuring out over the past 20 years what is the specific lesson around owning your own power, owning your own sovereignty, having critical thinking, and questioning things, and living for what is right for you and what it means for you to be in alignment with your own energy. And what do you do with that, even if it feels like who you are, what you need, and what you want is going against the collective or the rest of the world? But it's also like having us question when things don't work anymore. And we have recognized since 2008 that a lot of things haven't been working for us. So yeah. And again, that great mother energy of rebalancing everything, super yin energy. So what are some of the corresponding things that I would do between now and November 19th to really help us to understand the lessons that we've been learning over the past 20 years? I would absolutely use garlic as much as possible. Garlic is a herb that is very, or a veggie that is very connected, or it is a herb actually that's very connected to Capricornian and also Plutonian energy. So I would definitely work with that. Again, ashwagandha, chamomile, and ginger are all things that if I were working with Pluto and Aquarius, I would eat. I will put on my altar. You know, if you have perfumes or different things that may have some things like chamomile or ginger in them, I will wear them and different things like that to try to get in the frequency. Some of the other things that you can do is like Plutonian energy, and sometimes Capricornian energy can be ruled by like black obsidian, smoky quartz, and black tourmaline, which are very big in the root chakra and very big about protecting your electromagnetic field or your aura. So I work a lot with that right now because having a strong sense of self while Pluto is in the 29th degree in Aquarius is very, 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 not Aquarius, but a Capricorn is very, 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 very important. Yeah, I would also work with tiger's eye or hematite. And I actually think, yeah. So this is rainbow hematite. I just changed my beads. Even though I usually change it once a year, just the energy from my last spiritual beads that I had, and I won't describe everything that my beads do for me, because it ain't the time for that. Just work with hematite. Just work with hematite if you want to do that. Also, some of the colors you can work with is pale blue, yellow, orange, deep red, black. Sometimes brown, gray, dark green, garnet, and ruby. So yeah, those are some of the things that I will work with to kind of understand that and really just understand like what are the lessons, around sovereignty, around liberation, around owning all of your own power that you really have had to work through since 2008, especially if you are a person whose Pluto is in Scorpio. I know this time period has been really, really hard, especially because a lot of people who have their Pluto and Scorpio also have their Neptune and their Uranus in Capricorn. And so this energy right now feels very, very heavy for a lot of people who have those generational planets. And it's just really asking you, what is your power? What are the things that are holding you back from leaning fully into your power? Who are the people, who are the lifestyle choices that you make that kind of hold you back from all of that? And so, yeah, those are the things that I will have a focus on right now. And I'm just glad that I could just come on here and kind of express to y'all like the energy that I've been picking up on from a natural perspective on how to work with these energies. And I thank you so much for giving me the time tonight to talk about this. But y'all, I'm about to relax and go to sleep for the night. So I love y'all so much. Thank you for spending time with me. And yeah, have a good night. And we'll be coming out with those master classes. There'll probably be two, just one for Pluto and Capricorn, and one for Jupiter and Gemini. Will be coming soon here where we can formally learn about it from a different perspective rather than me just Japanese shawls, baby. Thank y'all for sitting with me. Happy last Oshun and Venus Day because it's 11:59, and I thank y'all so much. Have a good night. Bye. Bye, y'all.